Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भगवतः सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी. So we are starting with Canto number 1, chapter number 2, entitled Divinity and Divine Service. Text number 1. Vyaso vacha iti samprashna samhrishto Vipranam Ramaharshinahi Pratipujya Vachastesham Pravaktam Upachakrame. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Ugra Shrava or Sutta Goswami, the son of Ramaharshana, being fully satisfied by the perfect questions of the Brahmanas, thanked them and thus attempted to reply. Purport. The sages of Naimisharanya asked Sutta Goswami 6 questions, and so he is answering them one by one. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Sharakaya Chakshur Unmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I hope all of you had the opportunity to read the chapter. So we can see that in the previous chapter, the sages that gathered at Naimisharanya, they inquired, they asked 6 questions to Sutta Goswami. And we have understood that there are 2 conversations going on at the same time in the Srimad Bhagavatam. One is between Sutta Goswami and sages at Naimisharanya, and the other is Shukadev Goswami with Parikshit Maharaj. Now, asking questions, that is a sign of intelligence. Sometimes we feel, excuse me, sometimes we feel my question may be stupid or silly, but in spirituality, no question is silly. So asking questions is a sign of intelligence. And not only that, when questions are asked, it is to learn from them, to understand so that we can apply it in our day-to-day life. So Sutta Goswami, he is thanking the sages. He is very pleased that they asked questions. Why? Because by asking questions, everybody gets an opportunity to speak. The speaker gets an opportunity to speak, and those who have inquired, they get an opportunity to hear, as well as everyone else gathered in that session gets to speak and hear, and that leads to remembrance of Krishna. So this is actually an opportunity to distribute this knowledge to as many as possible. Now, before replying, as we go through this whole chapter, before Sutta Goswami replies to these questions, he's offering obeisances to Sukadev Goswami, who actually had left his home as soon as he came out of the womb. It is said that he did not come out of his mother's womb for 16 years. He was afraid that as soon as he comes out in the material world, Maya will grab him, and he didn't want that. He didn't want to be in illusion, so he wouldn't come out. It's only when he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam that was spoken by his father Vyasadeva while he was in the womb, he got self-realized. He became self-realized just by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. So he knew he actually was a liberated personality, but he still didn't want to take a chance. And so he didn't want to come out. Only when his father Vyasadeva assured him that you will not fall in Maya, that he came out. But what did he do? Because he was liberated, as soon as he came out, he walked away from the house. And because he was liberated, there was no need for purificatory process for him. So he was absolutely eligible to speak Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. Now, scriptures, what we call the Shastras, they teach us about following Varnashrama system. Varnas and ashramas. What are the Varnas? Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And what are the ashramas? They are Brahmachari, Grihastha, Anaprastha, and Sannyas. So in this material world, we need to follow. But there was no need for Shukadev Goswami to follow that. Now, in Bhagavad Gita also, we have learned Chatur Varnyam Maya Shishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasaha. How is this Varnashram system working? Based on guna and karma, on qualities and work. So it's not that just because I'm born in the family of Brahmanas that I automatically become a Brahmana. No, one has to qualify. One has to get those, those qualities of a Brahmana. What are the qualities we learned in the Bhagavad Gita? So the Varnashrama system is very, very important. And to be able to work in this Varnashrama system, one needs guidance. Otherwise, how will one know? Am I a Brahmana? Am I a Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra? In fact, Bhagavatam says, in Kali Yuga, mostly all of us Shudras. Then they qualify themselves to become a Brahmana. So to do that, to understand that, to get trained, one needs to approach a bona fide spiritual master. That's very, very important. Just like we learn anything in this material world, whether it's singing, dancing, music, karate, software, anything that we want to learn, we always approach a certified teacher, someone who is certified and who's also experienced and who's following it himself. For instance, karate teacher. I can just walk up to anyone and say, teach me karate. No, I have to go to a bona fide karate teacher. So similarly, to be able to understand this Varnashrama system or to be able to understand even Bhagavatam, we need to hear from a bona fide authority. So, and what does the bona fide teacher do? That spiritual master, that guru, he accepts only sincere students, does not accept students for name and fame. You have to qualify, just like the spiritual master has to be qualified, the student also has to be qualified, because it's not a fashion, that I have a guru. No, it has to be in, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, evam parampara praptam imam rajashayo viduhu sakalena hamata yogo nashtaha parantapa. That one must approach a bona fide spiritual master in strict disciplic succession. Now, talking about Varnashrama system, there are those Brahmanas. As I said, Brahmana not by birth. And we have the tendency that as soon as a child grows a little bit, because we are in the Brahman family, we give a Brahman thread to the child and we do some ceremony. That does not qualify one to be a Brahmana. Of course, in the bona fide parampara, Brahman thread is given, but it's only given to the men, not to the women. Of course, if the wife also takes on Brahman initiation, the husband wears the Brahman thread for the wife. So this is how it's been taught in the scriptures. And when one takes on the second initiation, which is Brahman initiation, that means a person has got a second birth. Dvija is called a Dvija, twice born. Then after one becomes twice born, then one can become a Vipra, which means a qualified Brahmana. And after that stage, one becomes a Vaishnava. And that stage, when a person becomes a Vaishnava, means that person is a self-realized person. And we see that Shukadev Goswami was born a Vaishnava. He was already a pure devotee, a liberated soul. So the purpose of Varnashrama system in this chapter explains is to become pure devotees. When we become pure devotees or Vaishnavas, then already we are a Brahmana. Just like there is a $100 bill, $10 is included in that $100 bill, right? It is there because it's a $100 bill. Similarly, Vaishnava means he is already a Brahmana. So now Sutta Goswami, he considers Shukadev Goswami as the spiritual master of all the sages that had gathered at Naimisharanya. Why? Because Shukadev Goswami, he spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam out of compassion for us. Imagine if he had not spoken Srimad Bhagavatam, we wouldn't be sitting together in this Zoom session and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So out of compassion for us, materialists, to help us understand that we are drowning in this ocean of Maya. So hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a commentary on the Vedanta Sutras, we see that Sutta Goswami, he's offering his obeisances to Shukadev Goswami. From anyone we learn the scriptures, from anyone we get spiritual knowledge, we consider them to be our guru. So Shukadev Goswami was already self-realized, he was merciful. He is actually gave Srimad Bhagavatam, spoke it to guide us to overcome Maya. And how was he able to relate Srimad Bhagavatam? Because he heard it from his father, that is Srila Vyasadeva, who is none other than Krishna himself. He's an incarnation. And we see that in general, people are in Maya, in this material world, especially in Kali Yuga, completely blinded by Maya. It's like they are wearing glasses of Maya. Everything that they see, everything that they hear, it's all illusion. They are so engrossed. They are so engrossed. And when we approach them to come and hear Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, what do they say? A big, in caps, no. That's a big no that comes from them. They think they are happy in their material world. They don't need anything else. But we learn from Bhagavad Gita that material world has a beginning and it has an end. There's no permanent happiness. So why are we making permanent plans over here? In fact, people in general make plans to live forever. Can we live forever? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, those who are born are sure to die. And after death, they are sure to be born again. See, making permanent plans. I remember when my husband and I were teaching Bhagavad Gita in India, on the weekends, we would go to a very far off place, which was not very highly populated. You know, it had just started coming up like a suburb, far away, about maybe 2 hours travel time. So on weekends, we would go and preach there. And there was a family, a Shah family, you know, very, very humble and very very nice people. So we would go to their house and they would invite their friends and neighbors and to hear Bhagavad Gita. So, but the problem was the head of the family, which is the father or the husband, you may call, he was very much in Maya. And if the head of the family is not able to take up Krishna consciousness himself, how can he give it to his family? So he was so much into Maya that every morning, he would very proudly tell us that every morning before going to work, he would give a list to his wife before going to work, so that when he came back from work, you know, that was done. And what was that? The menu card for the day. Like he would put there, you know, I want this pulao and I want this kind of dal or curry and I want 2 sabjis and a samosa and a pakora. And oh, it was a big line. And poor wife, whole day she was in the kitchen just cooking. So when he came back in the evening, he would get a feast for himself. That is trying to satisfy the senses. Had he been satisfied with that, he wouldn't be giving that list every morning, right? It's a material thing. People are so much into Maya that they are making plans forever to live with the family. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says there is hope. Simply by chanting Hare Krishna, we can come out of the cycle of Maya, come out of the cycle of birth and death. But we see all of you are nicely preaching, all of you get together and, you know, hear Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, like we have started the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we see, I'm sure you have also noticed that when you go to invite, does everybody come? No. Only few want to hear the scriptures. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Manushyanam Sahasrishu Kaschid Yatati Siddhaya. Out of thousands, who want to be perfect, hardly one tries for that. And out of those who have attained perfection, Krishna says, hardly one knows me in truth. So only few are interested in Krishna consciousness. Actually, Srimad Bhagavatam is actually for Paramahamsas, pure devotees. But out of mercy for us, Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken in Kali Yuga, just before the Kali Yuga was approaching. Why? Because the Lord and the pure devotees, they knew, Shukadev Goswami knew that the Kali Yuga is the degraded situation. People are going to go down, down, down. Things are going to go down, down, down. I know when I was in high school, getting 45% was, woohoo, wow, I got 45%. Now, even if you get 99%, the parents are asking, what about 1%? Why didn't you try hard for that 1% also? See the difference? Kali Yuga is degrading. It's getting more and more tough, very difficult. In fact, verse number 4 of this chapter number 2 is Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. This is what we recite before we start Srimad Bhagavatam. What does it mean? That before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Naranarayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. So we are offering obeisances. Actually, everything that we do should start with offering obeisances. First of all, we offer obeisances to the teacher who is teaching us every morning. Like when I wake up in the morning, the first thing is to thank, to be grateful to everybody, the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, the whole Parampara, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Radha Krishna, everyone offer obeisances because of their mercy. We are today hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a reminder. So offering obeisances is very, very important. That makes us even humble. So because most of us are in the forgetful stage, forgetful of our relationship with Krishna, forgetful of our constitutional position that we are the eternal servant of Krishna, that is why most are struggling in this material world. And what are the struggles? There is, of course, birth, there is disease, there's old age, and then there is death. So forgetful is the cause of our misery. And if we can understand, then we can work towards it. Then we can try to progress in spirituality, in our spiritual life. Even the Puranas, all Vedic literatures, they are meant to help us. And Srimad Bhagavatam is called a spotless Purana. There are no mistakes in Srimad Bhagavatam. One may try to find some grammatical mistakes or whatever, but it is called a spotless Purana. So here we see Sutta Goswami, he's appreciating the questions asked by the sages. And he says that the questions that you've asked are worthy. Why? Because they are related to Krishna. And anything related to Krishna is very satisfying. It gives satisfaction. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 15, we see, Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto mataha smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedescha sarver aham vedyo vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. Krishna says, I am the compiler of the Vedas and I am to be known from the Vedas. That is the purpose. What is the purpose of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam? So that we can know Krishna. We can understand. And we can only understand when we inquire. Like the sages, they inquire, they're asking questions and they're looking for answers. It's not that they're asking questions to challenge or to see, let me see how much knowledge do you have. No, they have that, they want to inquire so that they can learn from that. But material question and answers, they do not give satisfaction. We see spiritual question answers, we all learn from them. So the subject has to be related to our question. There should be, our question should be based in relationship with Krishna. And in this chapter, we see, just like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Aham bija pradaha pita, I'm the seed-giving father of everyone, and I'm the best friend. Similarly, here also, Shuta Goswami, he is stressing on that. And he's also stressing on the importance of human life. We are very, very fortunate that we have this human form, because in this human form, we can use our philosophical intelligence to become self-realized. In fact, in this chapter, Sutta Goswami, he says, Savai Pumsa Parodharma Yato Bhakti Radhokshaje Ahaituki Apratita Yayatmi Suprasaditi. Ahaituki, causeless. Apratihata, unbroken. And Yayatma Suprasaditi means completely satisfied. Our dharma should be to inquire about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yato Bhakti Radhokshaje. We should have that desire, intense desire to inquire and to become self-realized. So what is the main dharma? It is to do loving devotional service to Krishna. Not just devotional service, but one that is unmotivated and uninterrupted. And that will completely satisfy oneself. Uninterrupted means it should not be, only when we have classes that we just hear and that's about it. No, it has to be practiced on a daily basis. It's not that if I am diseased, I go to the doctor, only that day I take medicine, other days I forget, then what will be the result? I have to go to the doctor again because I haven't treated myself. I haven't taken the prescription very seriously. So here in Bhagavatam, we get the prescription and we see that the verse that we recited there, the questions are being asked and it's being appreciated. In this verse, Sutta Goswami, he answers, of course, in this chapter, he answers the first question. What was the question? They wanted to know the summary of the whole range of revealed scriptures. Oh, that will take forever. Summary of the whole range of revealed scriptures. Are we ready to hear them? Not only that, also to present the most essential part so that fallen people can take it up. So here sages are asking this question for us, fallen people of Kali Yuga. A simple process. Why? Because they knew we are lazy people. We want shortcuts. We want something very simple. We don't want anything complicated. We want something that, we can do fata. And then no, it's not Maggi noodles. It's not instant coffee that you do like this. No. And Sutta Goswami, he explains two paths. Pravritti Marg, which is a path of sense enjoyment, and Nivritti Marg, which is a path of renunciation. Now, Pravritti Marg, which is path of sense enjoyment, is actually a temporary cessation of material miseries. Temporary, because miseries are going to come back. And that is why it's considered inferior. But devotional service, that leads one to eternal blissful life. But then sometimes this devotional service, it gets mixed, it gets polluted. Because when sometimes some people practice devotional service, but then they are looking for material gain also, then it becomes mixed or polluted. Devotional service means it has to be pure. We don't do any business with the Lord, that I do this and then you do this for me. No, it is uninterrupted, not just on weekends, but every day. Unmotivated in the sense, there are no material desires to be fulfilled by performing devotional service. And that will be possible when we remember Jivera Swarupoy Krishnera Nityadas. That is our position, that we are an eternal servant. And that's why the devotional service performed should be unbroken. And what is the result of performing devotional service? We all have heard in Bhagavad Gita. We acquire causeless knowledge and detachment. Why? Because we are gradually getting attached to Krishna. And bhakti to Krishna is very simple and easy and sublime. It's not difficult to get purified. It's just that we have to explain to our mind, train our mind that this is the only way. Harinam, 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 Eva Kevalam. That is the only way. And we've learned in Bhagavad Gita how by getting ourselves attached to Krishna with the help of knowledge, then we become detached. Then our focus is on self-realization and not sense gratification. And this bhakti should be based on knowledge. It should not be blind faith just because someone said so, I'm doing it. No, we need to understand, why should I do that? Now, when we hear about detachment in Bhagavad Gita and also in this chapter, people get scared. Oh, does that mean I will not be able to love my family anymore? No, we will still love our family, but we'll not be attached, which means we are looking at their spiritual welfare as well. Attachment means we are only thinking about material welfare, but affection means we are looking at both material as well as spiritual well-being of the family. So even while performing work, yes, we can work hard, no problem. But if that work that we are doing is not karma free, it does not help us to get attracted to Krishna or his message, then what is the use? It's useless labor. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 and chapter 5, we've learned about karma, how to perform our work, how to lead a karma-free life. So for materialistic people, enjoying the senses is their goal. So their activities are also based on that goal. Of course, that then they start speculating. And what happens? They end up in dry philosophy. There is no realization because there is no bhakti in it. There is no devotional service. But those who are interested in not just the body, but the soul also, they take up Krishna consciousness. Because just performing our duties, we may say, oh, my duty is to educate my children and do this and that and that. Fine, that is good, but that will not give satisfaction. So in this chapter, Sutta Goswami is explaining that satisfaction of the self will lead the satisfaction of the family. And the self, the spirit soul, is beyond gross body and the subtle body. So it's important to understand the soul. And that is why that's the foundation of Bhagavad Gita. First instruction of Krishna to Arjuna, you are not this body. So we need to feed the soul. And the soul, once fed with the holy names, when we chant on a daily basis, then there is going to be no more material bondage. One becomes free. Yagnarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. You see? Tad artham karma kantya mukta sangha sama. Mukti will come. That bondage will be removed when we start working for Krishna. That means we are working for satisfying our soul. And that is possible with the first step of pure chanting every day. When I am diseased, I go to the doctor gives me medication, 3 tablets a day, then I cannot change that prescription and decide on my own, well, I'll take 1 tablet a week. Then I'm not going to get cured. I have to follow the prescription. So the scriptures, the Guru Parampara have given us the prescription that we should chant 16 rounds every day. That is the food for our soul. Now, if we don't feed our soul is going to become weak. So we should have an aim, a goal. One should not aim that one will, get some material benefit. Material benefits will come based on our past karma. Whatever we have earned, in our past, based on our activities, we are going to get the benefit of that for no, there's no problem about that. There's going to be no change. If I have earned $1 million based on my past activities, I'll get it this time because it's in my karma. So best is to desire to have a healthy family, healthy life, and the family that is inquiring about the absolute truth, about Krishna. Nothing else should be the goal. Good health is necessary because we want to practice devotional service, right? That is important. but not that have the goal of just enjoying the senses. In fact, the kids from young age, what do? They are being trained at most houses, at home, in school, everywhere. Like when the child, goes into kindergarten or whatever, what is he taught? A for apple, B for bat, C for cat, D for dog. But when the child grows a little bit, just 5 years, 6 years, I don't know, so quickly, they get, attracted to screen time. They have iPads and phones and everything and computers. And then their ABCD changes completely. A for Android, B for Bluetooth, C for chatting, D for download. Oh, ho, ho, right from a young age. And when they come to old age like me, then it becomes A for arthritis, B for blood pressure, C for cholesterol, D for diabetes. We completely forget that A, B, C, D of life should be A for association of devotees, B for reading books, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, C for chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and D is devotional service. This should be our goal. So that training needs to be there. And where do we get the training from? From a bona fide spiritual master. We have tried to satisfy our senses. We've been doing that since time immemorial, but we are still not satisfied. We want more and more and more, so that satisfaction more and more can move towards Krishna. I want to read more. I want to chant more. I want to hear more, and I want to apply it more. So in this chapter, Sutta Goswami is actually repeating Bhagavad Gita, you can say. He talks about the three aspects of understanding Krishna, the Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, three kinds of realizations. And he stresses on the qualifications required for becoming self-realized, which means one should be seriously inquisitive, not just inquisitive, seriously inquisitive, and one should be equipped with knowledge. Then there's going to be detachment and rendering devotional service based on the scriptures, not by hear and say. No, what is given in the scriptures. So to do that, it's important to even understand not just Bhagavad Gita, even Srimad Bhagavatam. We heard in Bhagavad Gita, there's a difference between Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, and a Bhakti Yogi. Karmis are materialistic, but then the other three, they are transcendental. So path of jnana and yoga are imperfect means of realizing Krishna. Devotional service that is based on knowledge from the scriptures that leads us to detachment is the perfect way. So a sincere person hears scriptures so that that person can progress. Because without hearing, there is no spiritual progress at all. Why do we hear on a weekly basis? Because that helps us. That helps us to start going towards the highest perfection. The goal is to please Krishna. And for that, we need to find out a bona fide spiritual master, because Krishna says that within I am the super soul Paramatma, and without I am the bona fide spiritual master. So there's no difference between spiritual master and Krishna. Of course, we don't consider the bona fide spiritual master to be God, but we understand he's the direct representative of the Supreme Lord. So we need to find out that bona fide spiritual master, try and follow the instructions, get trained. That should be the goal of human life. And that is possible with one-pointed attention. Sutta Goswami says, one-pointed attention, constantly hearing, constantly glorifying, constantly remembering and worshiping Krishna, and understanding that he is the protector of all living entities. So one-pointed attention is possible only through attentive chanting. That will give us permanent happiness and satisfaction. So we can see that Sutta Goswami, he is helping us to understand that when we chant attentively, we are able to remember Krishna, and only by the mercy of Krishna that we will be able to come out of this cycle of birth and death. Sarva dharman parityagya mam ekam sharanam. When we completely surrender unto Krishna, how? By chanting, because when we chant, we will be able to remember Krishna. And when we will able to remember Krishna, then at the time of death, we will be able to remember him and go back to the spiritual world. Of course, side by side, we also do our prescribed duties. See? So there is another easy way to get attracted to Krishna, and that is devotional service mixed with or along with serving the pure devotees. Serve those devotees who are free from vice. So the Goswami's instruction, you can say, or advice. Because the association of pure devotees is very, very beneficial. Sadhu Sangha Sarva Shastra Kahe, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoy. We can get so much benefit just by associating with pure devotees, even for a moment. So we should serve such devotees, and that pleases Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada says that when one has the eagerness to hear, that is the first qualification of going back to Godhead. And to go back to Godhead, one has to be free from all sins. And that is possible only when one is able to chant attentively. I have a question for you, Prerna. This chapter is very, very full of knowledge, and I've only covered half of it. Do you want me to continue the remaining half next time, or finish? Because I know you need to finish by 8:15, and I thought I'll leave 5 minutes for questions if there are any, but you tell me what you would like me to do.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Yes, we want to indulge in this chapter as well. So, and I know we will have questions. So if you're okay with it, we can maybe pause here and take questions, because you covered a lot of content. Will that be all right, Mataji?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I have completed till verse number 17, and we can start with number 18 from next month in the next class.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much for very beautiful class, Mataji. We will open it up for questions, and I want to just see if Rajna is here. Rajna Beta, do you have any questions that you want to ask? We can start with you first.
No, not so far.
Okay. All right. So I'll ask one question, Mataji, on behalf of everyone based on what you've talked about, and then maybe you can take one more question after that. So,
actually, there are already 3 hands up.
Oh, there are 3 hands. Okay, so let us start then. We'll start, Mataji. So Jayashree, you want to go ahead first?
Achin went first.
Achin went first. Achin, sorry, go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
When we were talking of that materialistic pleasures should be avoided, our ambitions should also be curtailed. I relate this to Draupadi, who in her distress remembered God. Or for that matter, even Arjun, when he was dicey or he was in doubt, he had Lord Krishna at his as his charioteer, who helped him and who guided him. So why materialistic pleasures should be avoided? Because our ambitions are related to materialistic things. They are just all related. So I'm not able to...
I understand. Yes, I understand your question. And the answer is,
them.
Yes, it's in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3 and 5. Main thing is that everything that we do, it's good to have those aspirations, to maybe become a CEO of the company and all that. All is good, but the consciousness is very important. We have to understand, why do I want to be the CEO of the company? So that when I earn that money that I earn, I'm going to use it for Krishna consciousness. In other words, everything that I do, Henry Ford, right? You've heard about Henry Ford. His grandson, who Alfred Ford, is billionaire, I think. I'm not sure if I'm not mistaken. But even though he goes to his office in a suit, in a full suit and tie and everything, he does whatever is needed, but his consciousness is completely Krishna consciousness, which means he uses what he earns in building temples or even practicing it at home, which means he makes sure that his whole family is chanting and reading and eating only Krishna prasad. So there is nothing wrong in having those aspirations, but we need to know what is the motive behind it. Is it that I want to, probably become a CEO because I want to enjoy my senses more? No, that is not the right state of consciousness. So as long as our consciousness is towards Krishna, then there's no problem. We can become a scientist, a PhD, or whatever it may be. Okay.
So the intention should be always that we should be Krishna conscious,
Yes, yes.
irrespective of anything.
Yes, then you can go ahead and have those material aspirations, but make sure the consciousness is towards Krishna. Yes,
Thank you.
Jai Shri.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you for the class.
Thank you.
I think you partially answered the answer for this question, but I have somewhat similar question. You mentioned about Pravritti Marg and Navritti Marg. In that you mentioned some do devotional service looking for material gain. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Maybe some examples.
Yes, yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, so this devotional service is a very broad subject, and everyone has their own conception about it. Everyone has their, you can say, preconceived notions about devotional service. So when we do business with the Lord, in other words, that, Krishna, I am going to chant 16 rounds today, but make sure my daughter passes the exam. That's a business deal with the Lord, and that is kind of contaminated. You can say it's good, it's better than not chanting. It's better to chant and have material desires, but then as we progress, this is considered an offense towards the holy name. That you're chanting, you are trying to satisfy your senses on the strength of chanting, you see. So that is why it's important that, as I mentioned, based on our past karma, we will get X number of happiness or distress. That is already decided because we finished, those actions. So our trying hard, like for instance, if, as I was saying, in my karma, if I'm supposed to get $1 million, just to let you know, I don't have, and I don't know if I'll get, but I'm hypothetically saying this. If it was there, then even though I'm just performing my prescribed duties, without any desire for gain, I'll get that because it's in my karma. But that doesn't mean that I don't work and say, oh, if it's in my karma, it's going to come. We still do our prescribed duties, but we do not do a business with the Lord that I am doing this, or I am feeding the poor. Now you make sure you give me this or that. No. So that is what we were talking about, that devotional service should be unmotivated. There should be no motive behind it. Okay. Yes, Krishna Darshan.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I had this question that when Sutaji speaks to all the sages and Sukhdevji Sukhdevji speaks to Parikshit Maharaj. This happened at the same time, or like?
No, not at the same time. No. So when Shukadev Goswami was, speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, Sutta Goswami was present in that assembly and he heard it. And then later on, when the sages gathered at Naimisharanya, they inquired from Sutta Goswami. Shaunaka Rishi was the head of those sages who inquired on behalf of the sages to Sutta Goswami. But in Bhagavatam, we will see that their conversations are, coming simultaneously in that same chapter.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
You're welcome. Okay, so I guess it's time for you all to start your other class.
Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.
Jai. Thank you so much. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.